A top-tier Shimano Dura Ace group set costs $3,200. A top-tier SRAM Red AXS group set costs $3,800. On paper, both are 12-speed wireless electronic shifting systems. Both weigh under 2 kilograms. Both shift faster than any human hand can feel. Both are used by professional teams winning races at the highest level of the sport. And yet, cyclists argue about which one is better with an intensity that borders on personal. Walk into any group ride forum, search any cycling subreddit, ask a question at your local bike shop. Within minutes, you will find people who treat the Shimano versus SRAM question the way other people treat politics. The loyalty runs deep, the opinions run hot, and the facts get buried somewhere underneath both. The truth sits somewhere neither side really wants to admit. To understand the story, you have to start at the beginning. Before the rivalry existed, for most of cycling history, there was no rivalry. There was Campagnolo, and there was everyone else. The Italian company founded by Tullio Campagnolo in 1933 owned professional cycling for decades. European riders used Campagnolo components the way Formula One drivers used Italian engines. It was not a preference, it was a cultural identity. Riding anything else in a serious race was considered an embarrassment. Shimano existed during this period, quietly building components in Sakai, Japan. They were good components, reliable, well-priced, but they were not Campagnolo, and in the world of professional road cycling, that mattered enormously. SRAM did not exist at all. The American company was founded in Chicago in 1987 by 3 men who had no background in cycling components. Their first product was a twist grip shifter for mountain bikes, a device so simple that established manufacturers dismissed it immediately. It worked. It sold. And SRAM quietly began building the foundation of something that would eventually threaten 2 companies with decades of market position on both of them. What changed everything was not a single product. It was a decision about how shifting should work. In 1984, Shimano launched indexed shifting for road bikes. The principle was simple. Every click of the lever pulled a precise, predetermined amount of cable. The derailleur moved a precise amount. The chain dropped onto a precise gear. No feel required, no adjustment mid-ride. Just click and go. The effect on everyday cycling was immediate. Riders who had spent years struggling with friction shifting suddenly had reliable, repeatable gear changes. The skill barrier for basic bicycle operation collapsed almost overnight. Campagnolo was slow to respond. The Italian company dismissed indexed shifting as an unnecessary complication. They eventually introduced their own system, but the delay cost them years of market position and allowed Shimano to establish the technology as a Shimano-associated innovation in the minds of an entire generation of new cyclists. SRAM watched all of this from the mountain bike world and learned something important. If you cannot beat an established brand at its own game, you change the game. In 1996, SRAM introduced their road group set. The shifting logic was completely different from Shimano's. Where Shimano used 2 levers to shift up and down, SRAM designed what they called double tap. A single lever, a short press shifted one direction, a longer press shifted the other, 1 contact point instead of 2. Cyclists either loved it or found it completely counterintuitive. And that split reaction turned out to be the defining pattern of the entire SRAM versus Shimano argument that continues today. Both systems work. Both systems work well, but they work differently. And cyclists who learn on one system often find the other feels wrong for the rest of their riding life, regardless of which one is actually better. Shimano's greatest strength is not any single product. It is coverage. The company makes components at every price point, from a $40 department store bike to a $12,000 race machine. The Claris group set at the entry level and the Dura Ace at the top share the same indexing logic, the same ergonomic philosophy, and the same basic maintenance requirements. A rider who learns on Shimano at the bottom of the market feels at home on Shimano at the top. That consistency is worth more than any individual technical specification. The reliability record is also difficult to argue with. Shimano 105, The company's mid-range group set that has existed in various forms since 1982 is one of the most thoroughly tested pieces of cycling equipment ever produced. Riders run it for years in all conditions with minimal maintenance and experience very few mechanical failures. It is not glamorous, it is not the lightest, it is not the most talked about group set in any online forum. But it works, and it keeps working, in a way that has made it the default choice for bike manufacturers, building anything between $1,000 and $3,000 for 40 years. Shimano's Die 2 electronic system also has a meaningful advantage in one area that matters to a specific type of rider: battery life. A Die 2 system, run off a single internal battery, can last between 1,000 and 1,500 kilometers between charges. Most riders charge it once a month and forget it exists. The system is also self-diagnosing. The LEDs on the junction box tell you the battery level. The rear derailleur will deliberately limit itself to the middle of the cassette when the battery gets critically low, ensuring you are never completely stranded. For a touring rider, a commuter, or anyone who does not want to think about their group set at all, that simplicity is genuinely valuable. Shimano also wins on brake fluid. Their hydraulic brakes use mineral oil, which is non-toxic, non-hygroscopic, and forgiving of a mist bleed. You can buy it at a hardware store. Spilling it on a carbon frame will not damage the paint. The maintenance procedure is straightforward enough that most home mechanics can handle it with basic tools. SRAM's greatest strength is exactly what makes it divisive. They are willing to do things before anyone else. Sometimes that means they get it right first. Sometimes it means they get it right eventually. But the willingness to move before the market is ready has produced the two most significant innovations in modern drivetrain design. The first is One by Drivetrains. SRAM launched the Eagle One by Drivetrain for mountain bikes in 2016 with a cassette that ran from 10 teeth to 50 teeth. 1. Chainring up front. A range wide enough to replace 2. No front derailleur, no front shifter. A drastically simplified cockpit, and a drivetrain that could not drop a chain. The mountain bike world adopted it within a few years, so completely that asking a mountain biker about their front derailleur today is a slightly dated joke. Shimano followed. They always follow SRAM on this particular front, and SRAM knows it. The second innovation is wireless electronic shifting, and this is where SRAM made a move that genuinely embarrassed Shimano for a period. When SRAM launched ETAP in 2015, the first fully wireless road group set, they did something that changed what riders expected from electronic shifting. No wires at all. Each derailleur carried its own small lithium battery. The shift logic was clean enough to explain in one sentence: right lever shifts to a harder gear, left lever shifts to an easier gear, both levers together shifts the front. The system was lighter than Die 2, simpler to install, and easier to service. Shimano's response took years. The current Dura Ace Di 2 uses what Shimano calls semi-wireless technology. The derailleurs are wireless. But there is still a battery that needs to be wired to the rear derailleur. It is better than the original wired system, but it is not what SRAM built. And cyclists who have used both notice the difference. SRAM also wins on brake ergonomics for most hand sizes. The SRAM lever hood shape and the position of the hydraulic caliper actuator have been consistently rated more comfortable than Shimano's equivalent by riders with smaller hands. This is not a universal truth. Hand size varies, preference varies, but it is a real pattern across enough rider reports to take seriously. The honest verdict. The cycling industry would prefer you to think this choice is more important than it is. It is not a trivial choice. The ergonomics are different, the maintenance requirements are different, the ecosystem lock-in is real, and it is expensive to undo. These things matter and deserve careful consideration before you spend money. But the performance difference between a well-maintained Shimano Dura Ace Di 2 build and a well-maintained SRAM Red AXS build is smaller than almost any other factor that determines how fast you ride. The rider matters more. The fit matters more. The training matters more. The wheels probably matter more. Here is where to actually land. Choose Shimano if you want the widest component availability, the most comprehensive service network, the lowest drama maintenance experience, and a group set that any mechanic on Earth can work on without consulting a manufacturer's app. Choose Shimano if you are new to road cycling and want a system that rewards consistency over enthusiasm. Choose Shimano 105 in particular if you want to spend your money on a better bike rather than a better group set. Choose SRAM if you want wireless electronic shifting with the cleanest installation experience available. Choose SRAM if you ride mountain bikes or gravel as well as road, because the One by philosophy and the AXS ecosystem span all three disciplines in a way Shimano has not yet matched. Choose SRAM if the double tap logic feels natural to you, because if it does, it genuinely does feel fast. Do not choose either brand because a forum told you the other one was wrong. The people in those forums are riding their preferred group set and declaring victory. They are not riding both systems back-to-back on the same climb on the same day. Their opinion is tribal loyalty dressed up as technical analysis. Both systems will shift when you tell them to. Both systems will last for years if you maintain them. Both systems have been on bikes that crossed the finish line first. The truth nobody wants to admit is that the Shimano versus SRAM debate says more about the cycling community's love of gear tribalism than it does about the actual difference between the two products. Pick one. Stay loyal for the life of the bike, and then spend the rest of your time thinking about the thing that actually makes you faster. Go ride. Thanks for watching. If you want more honest takes on what the cycling industry is actually selling you, stick around.